Hello and welcome to another episode of Your Right to Know, brought to you by the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. We are coming to you from the Workers Credit Union Studios here at FATV. I will be your co-host this evening, Andrew Kuchar, and with me as always is my friend and co-host, Mary Lotz. How are you doing, Mary?
I am well, thank you.
And today we have a very, very special guest this evening, Mr. Jim Lyons, chairman of the Mass GOP. How are you doing today, Jim?
Doing great, Andrew. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Nice to see you also, Mary.
It's a treat
Absolutely.
to have the head of the Mass GOP here. We have some interesting thoughts for discussion this evening. So two big issues that we're focusing on is the referendum petition drive regarding the new law that illegals can now possess driver's license here in Massachusetts. And second, will Massachusetts and our Republican candidates be a part of the red wave that we all know that's coming in November of 2020? So first, Jim, can you please tell our audiences what the referendum is and how's it going?
First of all, the referendum is a referendum to put on the ballot to let the voters decide as to whether or not illegal immigrants should be able to receive driver's licenses. We don't believe that they should. And that is the issue, is to put it on the ballot, let the voters decide. The legislature, democratically controlled legislature, overwhelmingly voted to pass this legislation. Governor Baker vetoed it, and then the legislature overrode the veto. So a team was put together, headed by Maureen Maloney. You folks might remember Maureen.
Yes.
Her son was killed by an illegal driver in a car accident, a drunk illegal immigrant. And so she's spearheading the movement. As a matter of fact, the one who started it was the governor candidate, Jeff Deal. And Maureen and Jeff got together and decided that this is what they wanted to do. And, you know, as the chairman of the party, they reached out to me, and we believe very strongly every single Republican in the state voted against it in the legislature. And we believe it's an issue that resonates with the voters, whether it's a Democrat, Republican, or unenrolled. It goes right across the board. The only ones that don't seem to like it are what I call the radical left. And so we've been out there since June 15th, I think is the date that we finally got papers. Been out there every weekend. The energy level on the streets is very high. But we've also run into some serious opposition. Protesters, people that want to interfere with our constitutional rights.
Including elected officials.
Elected officials.
Senator Jamie Eldridge, as a matter of fact.
And he's at the neighboring state senate district.
Right, exactly. I actually ran into Jamie when he was out there interfering with our rights back 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was out in, I think it was Berlin, and Jamie was out there with a group of people and basically trying to intimidate people not to vote. Look, I mean, we have a right to put it on the ballot. You know, if it's such a good piece of legislation, why don't they want the people to vote on it? So it really is quite remarkable, and it's widespread, it's organized, and we just filed a suit a couple days ago against Senator Eldridge, a city councilor from Waltham, and a SEIU operative. We did that in state court, and then we also filed a suit naming those same three in federal court, naming Maura Healey. The Attorney General has a responsibility as the law enforcement agent of Massachusetts to protect our rights. And the only rights that Maura appears to be protecting are the rights of people that are breaking the law. So it's time, I think, in Massachusetts for people to realize that because we don't agree with the Democrats doesn't mean that we shouldn't be protected under the law. And so we've got a great group of people that are out there working, headed up, as I said, by Maureen Maloney, and I don't know whether people know Wendy Wakeman, but Wendy Wakeman is doing an awful lot of work with Maureen, and people all over the state are out there collecting signatures, and so far so good. But what I really want people to understand is we need everybody in this fight. We need everybody to get up and, you know, get a petition and walk around your neighborhood, 5, 10 signatures, put it in the mailbox, send it back to us, and we'll take it from there. But if we can get everybody engaged, you know, the final day is August the 24th. We will get this on the ballot, and that will lead right into what your next question is how will we do in November? I think this is a really important element for us to have some real successes in November.
Well, I know one of the things that, because I have been out every weekend and different times during the week collecting signatures with a team of friends, and people are angry. People are viscerally angry when they come up. It's kind of a hard question to pose to people walking in a grocery store. You have like 5 seconds to get their attention, but what we're trying to do is tell them to stop a law, and it's a confusing thing. That's why we really like the signs
Right.
that you've made up, because that sort of stops people in their tracks, and they say, wait a minute, you want to repeal a law.
That's right.
And then they come on over and they say, where do I sign? And
it's both parties too. It's Democrat
it's a
and
bipartisan.
Republican.
It's very much a bipartisan issue. It should be a bipartisan issue. When Maureen Maloney's son got killed and dragged under his motorcycle was dragged that night. The illegal who drove over him and dragged his motorcycle didn't ask him if he was Republican or Democrat. He just knew he was in his way,
Right.
and for whatever reason, he had no pity, he had no mercy. He backed over the man and drove off again,
Terrible.
if I remember the story correctly. So let me ask you this. I think this issue is really catapulting our own Republican candidates. And the reason I say that is because as we are out collecting signatures in this particular area, we can say to the people who are interested in knowing more about it or who are eager to sign, do you realize that our current state representative and our current state senator support illegals having driver's license in Massachusetts? They even overrode Governor Baker's veto, and either some just say, oh, I know that, or others are really, and with that, we have our candidates right with us, and we introduce our candidates, and then we have our literature on Representative or candidate Ken Hoyt, candidate Aaron Packard, and Dean Tran, who co-sponsored, and his name is on the petition, as well as Jeff Deal. So we have all of our literature right there. And then if they open up and start on the voting, we have Rayla Campbell's literature there too. So we're getting everybody involved, and we're promoting our own candidates at the same time. And people are outraged, and I've not had anybody turn away the literature except those who say, believe me, I know who I'm voting for, and I'm voting R all down. I don't need the literature. Everyone else takes it and says, thank you very much.
So, which leads me, it just drives me crazy. Did the people who voted this in really think they weren't going to have backlash from the voters as a result of this? What were they thinking? How did this pass, Jim?
So I think it passed because of what happens in Massachusetts. It's because they can do it. And what we're seeing is moderate Democrats are now concerned about getting defeated from the left. So the moderate Democrats who normally would consider voting against this kind of legislation are supporting it. And that's opening us opportunities for us, is unifying this Republican Party with the unenrolleds and the conservative Democrats. So I think that's how it passes, because the hierarchy in the legislature now is totally controlled by the left. And what they're doing is they're literally threatening people who don't support their radical agenda with a primary from the left. So that's how that happened. The parties, the legislatures get out of control. I mean, they're absolutely out of control. I mean, they're just running over our rights. And I think the point that you just made, Mary, is so important. Is it's a unifying message for us. It allows us to have a message. 63% of unenrolled voters agree with us on this. That's high. 25, 28% are against us. So what we need as a party are those kinds of voters to look at us. And the Democrats have just gone far, whether it be this, inflation, gas, defunding the police, mandates, indoctrination. They've just gone way too far. And this issue, and I couldn't agree more. When I've been out on the street corners, I hold this little sign up and I say, hey, would you consider, signing a petition to stop illegals from getting driver's licenses? People stop and say, what did you say? What did you say?
Yeah.
And they immediately come. And the anger level that you're seeing, we're seeing everywhere. And I mean, this is just a sign to me, and I think to all of us, that we all have to take an active role in government. And that's why when I say, for your viewers out here, take a sheet. Go to our website, it says right here, fairandsecurema.com. Sign up. We'll send you a sheet in the mail. Fill it out. Walk around your neighborhood. We need everybody on board.
Now, there's actually something a little bit more insidious going on here. When you give illegals the right to driver's license, it opens up other doors to other rights, such as voting. Could you explain a little bit about how that works and that relationship?
I think that's what drove Governor Baker to veto the bill, is because of the concerns that we all have about election integrity in Massachusetts and nationally. And when you go to register and get your license, it automatically registers you to vote. Automatically, it does that. There are no protections in place to protect us from people, registering to vote. The story that I tell, though, is we all remember when we got our licenses. It was a privilege.
It was.
It was a privilege.
And we tell people that.
Well, what kind of message are we sending if we're telling our kids it's a privilege, at the same time we're rewarding people that are breaking our laws? It doesn't make any sense. So the rule of law matters. We all talk about it. This is an absolute door-opening opportunity for people to come across the border. And where are they going to come? Right to Massachusetts.
And I work the election polls in Fitchburg on election days. And anybody who, I think it's called motor voter, so they've never had to really show an ID at that time. So they're one of the few people that when they come for their very first time to vote, our signature sheets will actually say they must show an ID. Well, they have an ID because they now have their license. So it's fait accompli. That circle has now been rounded, and it's over. There is no stops in their ability to vote from the time they are given a license to the time they vote and walk through the polls.
And the other thing that in Massachusetts, over the last 10 years, the amount of our tax dollars that go to what we call is illegal immigrants has grown from $1.8 billion to over $2.5 billion. When's it going to stop? When is it going to stop? I mean, you don't see our local aid going up at the same level. And when you talk about local aid to our cities and towns, which puts downward pressure on our property taxes, if we took that $2.5 billion, it would reduce property taxes across the state. We've got to really start recognizing that our tax dollars should be spent on the citizens of Massachusetts.
Yes.
We also have to take it nationally when you start looking at it, and you have hundreds of thousands of people crossing, every week crossing over the border, and the federal government is not doing anything about it. In fact, they're busing people to the different states that they would like to see, more voters.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I hope to God there's a red wave and we get control of the House and the Senate, because all it would take is a majority of the House to do it with this radical Democratic president that we have, to try to pass some sort of a amnesty bill.
Right.
And then that's it. The country is done. It's gone.
Right. No, this is a very important issue. That's why it's resonating, and that's why so many people are coming to our tables and up, in the supermarkets and on the doorbells and signing. So we just need we need all hands on deck. We need everybody involved.
It's very interesting as we were preparing for tonight's show and just sort of sitting around and talking. Our executive producer of tonight's show was a green card holder for many years from Canada and just recently became a U.S. citizen. And she can vote, and she's very proud of that. And she said that during this process, the reason it took her in part so long was because of the cost of becoming a legal citizen in the United States. And she said ultimately she probably has spent $10,000 or more to become a legal citizen, between the lawyer's fees and all the different fees that you have to go through. And she said, now I want to know if I can sue to get that money back, me and other people who have spent this inordinate amount of money, which they felt was very worthwhile to become a citizen in the right way and get the right to vote and all of this. She said, I've been paying taxes all these years because I was a green card holder. I always was employed. I've been paying taxes. But now this is just going to be given freely, arbitrarily.
So I think what you just pointed out, though, one of the things that I've found out on the gathering the signatures is folks like that are some of the most strongest proponents of what we're trying to do. And they tell the story. You hear people tell the story. You know, I came here legally. I followed the rules. Everyone should follow the rules. And that's what we have to do. And that's a great story. And we're seeing that all across the state. You know, people that are in this country legally. I mean, we all come from immigrants. I mean, that's what this country
our
was.
history.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we were the melting pot.
That's
you know?
right.
So
That's right.
So what is the deadline for getting the signatures, and how many signatures you need, and how many we got so far?
So we need just over 41,000 certified.
Okay.
All right, and the deadline to turn into the cities and town clerks is August 24th. Okay, and I believe that we're probably somewhere in the upper 20s right now, maybe low 30s. I don't know exactly.
Are those certified
No,
signatures
just
or
raw, just raw
okay,
signatures.
so we're halfway there, maybe.
I believe so, yeah. And we've done that in 4 weeks. And usually the next 4 weeks are even stronger because the first two, you know, got to get everything out.
Yeah.
But the key is for everybody that's doing it to continue to do it and then to build on it. Encourage people to come out, you know, 1 sheet, 2 sheets, 3 sheets, get out on the weeknights. So this is definitely attainable. It's something we can definitely do, and it's going to help every one of our candidates. It's going to help Ken Hoyt, it's going to help Aaron, it's going to help Dean, right across the board. It's going to help all of our candidates. So, you know, we're really excited about it. I think that the timing of this, you know, combining it with the so-called red wave, could make Massachusetts part of that national story, we hope.
So let's talk about the red wave. I mean, we felt very good as we were getting signatures, while we were collecting signatures for our Massachusetts candidates all, when was that, early spring. We were out in the cold weather, now we've been out in the hot weather, collecting signatures for all of our candidates. And again, we felt the anger, we felt the just outrage of people of what's going on. I mean, they'll oftentimes, even though we're collecting for local candidates or local issues, they immediately bring up Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and they'll go, they name these people like they're their best friends, like they're their neighbors or relatives, because they come to know them so well and know that they don't like them and their policies. So people are ripe for change. Will we see the change? And will it be dramatic, or will it be, we always hear this, the Trump wave in 2020, and then it fizzled, maybe.
Right.
The jury's still out, but it fizzled. Will this fizzle?
I don't see it fizzling. I mean, I think that the Democrats, they just keep doubling down on their, what I call their lunacy. So I don't see it fizzling. But Mary and Andrew, the one thing that we all have to do is everyone has to stay involved. All right, we're here because the left really took it upon themselves individually to get people to the polls and get them to vote. We have to do the same thing. We have issues right now that just resonate with the middle of the road voter, the people on the right, except for the crazies, what I call the crazies on the left, I mean, look at inflation. I mean, we are in a recession today.
Even though they want to try to change the definition,
definition.
of what a recession is,
Well,
because
they're
it's,
changing what's happening at the border to, it's an invasion, but they're saying it's just, you know.
But Andrew, don't you know that they changed the definition of male and female? So
Why start with
they
inflation?
don't even know what bathroom to use.
why not change it? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, these people just they look at you and what do you identify as right now? I mean,
Let's just clean that up a little bit. Unless you're talking about abortion, they don't know what the difference between male and female is. But a woman's right to choose is a woman's right to choose. So
Right.
that's that they know what a woman is when they start talking about abortion, but they don't know any outside of that.
A birthing parent.
yeah, I mean, they've just completely lost it. I mean,
And I mean, honestly, as you're talking about the middle of the road voters, whether or not they're Democrat or they're moderate Republicans or they're moderate Democrats, people have to see this wokeness that's going on and going, what the heck is going on here? It's like the ultra left has taken over and everybody is afraid to insult them.
drag queen shows for 3rd graders, gender transition to 4th graders. I mean,
And gender transition without even allowing the parents to know about it.
what was once unthinkable, now we can't even question, right?
And then when you have a state like Florida who passes a bill saying, you shouldn't talk about that kind of stuff to people under,
A certain age,
a certain
15
age.
or something
And they're
like that.
saying, oh, it's the don't say gay bill.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with gay. It's just
Right.
what is appropriate for a child, a 3 to 4 year old child to understand. They're not going to understand a drag queen show.
And you're a parent of 2 little girls. So you see the difference between one daughter who's going into freshman of high school. She's had a different emotional maturity level and knowledge-based level than your little grammar school child.
Of course, of course.
And so what is maybe something that mom and dad would want to talk to this child about is nothing that you would want to talk to this child about because they would get frightened or scared. They don't have the knowledge base to build.
Right.
You raised
Right.
2 young men, 2 boys.
Right.
And the conversation between boys and girls is different, but you've been through this,
Right.
of what you expose your children to.
But you also have to take into consideration when it comes to my girls, they're both they didn't get it from me, but they're both jocks. Okay, they enjoy playing sports. So they're my oldest is going into field hockey and lacrosse. And not in the school that she's in, she goes to Catholic school, but if she went to public school, she could be playing against a boy her age that's twice her size and twice her weight that's gonna crush these girls.
Yeah.
I think that leads right to the Leah Thomas thing, right? I
Yes.
mean, you have young girls and women who dedicate, a great deal of their life to become good athletes, and then they're put at the disadvantage of having men transition to play against them. It's simply wrong. Where are the feminists talking about that?
I know. What was it? Title? I'm too old for it, but Title V was it? Title VI?
Title IX, I think it was.
Title IX.
I mean,
Title V, I think, is
where
septic.
is all of these people
Right.
now who fought so hard to get gender equality in school sports for children? Where are they now?
Right, exactly.
So we have a couple of primaries actually in Massachusetts that are very significant. Our governor candidates, we have 2.
Yeah,
One was highly endorsed by the Mass GOP at the convention. One was, he got enough votes to
Make it to the primary.
make it to the primary. And yet the same thing happened with the Democrats. But their lesser candidate, the one who made it to the primary but didn't overwhelm the crowd, stepped back. Should we have seen that also in the Republican Party?
so one of the
It
things,
shows me unity in the Democrats that I'm still not seeing.
so one of the things, being the chairman of the party, we have bylaws. And as the chairman, I have to follow the bylaws, which says that in a primary, a Republican primary, I have to remain neutral, okay? So I have to remain neutral. However, I mean, what we saw was Jeff Deal wins 70-30, 71-29 actually. And then similar thing in the Democratic primary, and Sonia decided to get out of the race. Look, I think we're going to have a good primary, and I think both of the candidates, some of the time, are keeping their focus on Maura Healey. We did an ad talking about Maura. America is burning.
Excellent ad.
But that's how forests grow.
Excellent ad.
I mean, just think about her as the governor of the Commonwealth. When the riots in the streets were being burned in June of 2020, what did Maura Healey say? America is burning, but that's how forests grow. Well, that's exactly the message she's sending to every single person who's out here collecting signatures. Your rights don't matter. Massachusetts is burning, but that's how forests grow. Let them have driver's licenses for illegals. So we need to keep our eye on the ball. Maura Healey is the person we need to defeat. The Democrats are who we need to defeat. We have a great group of candidates across the state.
And diverse.
Right, running for office. And our message is, these Democrats are flat out crazy. And what we're seeing in our schools, what we're seeing in our economy, what we're seeing with our police, all is because of the policies of the left. Biden is underwater in Massachusetts. Every single Democrat should be tied right to President Biden, and we should run that our message is better than theirs, bar none.
And of course, they are tied to Biden because they are puppets, by and large, the Democratic Party. And our representatives, we have a completely Democrat compromised electorate and they are.
For 2 years, right? What we have is the Washington, D.C. is controlled by the Democrats, totally controlled by the Democrats. Massachusetts legislature is overwhelmingly controlled by the Democrats. And what have we seen happen? We have inflation at 9.5%, 10%. We're in a recession. They're spending trillions and trillions of dollars that they don't have, printing money, and they're taking our rights away. They're taking our rights away.
And so I know we have to go, but I just want to leave our viewers with one other tidbit of Maura Healey. Wasn't she the one who said it's not illegal to be illegal in Massachusetts?
Exactly.
So that's another gem
That's
that I'd
right.
like to leave our viewers with.
Exactly.
Jim, thank you very much. Andrew and I and the Fitchburg Republican City Committee really appreciate you being with us tonight. And as we leave you, we'd like to thank you for watching Your Right to Know. And as we leave you, we'd like you to remember that the Fitchburg Republican City Committee, or any of your town and city Republican committees, is the only grassroots organization that holds dear your liberty, your constitutional rights, and your conservative values. And why do we encourage you to join us? Because to us, we feel GOP stands for growth, opportunity, and prosperity for all people. And we always stand for ours and your freedom. Thank you and good night.
America, we stand for freedom. So let us all unite to yearn and strive for our republic that reflects our values, that preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and might, that reflects our values and preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and might.